Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tech Talk Thursday. I can't believe a week has gone by so fast. Today, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to be playing around with AI. We're going to be using it to critique various studio setups to see what it will come up with, and really just give you some pointers on lighting, images, where you want to place things in your studio. And then we've got Martin joining us in a moment, who's going to be then walking through some stuff with Photoshop. But first of all, hello, welcome back. I don't say welcome back. You haven't been anywhere really, but
I haven't really been anywhere. I don't need to go anywhere. It's beautiful weather in Edinburgh. It's over 20 degrees, or it has been occasionally, if you don't take the icy wind into account. But we'll ignore that element. It's been an exciting week for us because we've turned from 2 into 3 people. We've got a young intern who has joined us. He's also my nephew, and his name is Sam. And a lot of what we're doing today is a little bit inspired by Sam joining us, because we wanted him to run through our training course on how to look good on camera and go live on LinkedIn, and also to build himself a studio. So that's kind of, we've been doing a little bit of that this week. I took a wheelbarrow with a load of gear around and dumped it on Sam, and left it on him to put it together and see what he could do in our Portobello office, which is just outside of Edinburgh. And it's a kind of a twin-bedded spare room, but it won't look like that when we've finished with it. So yeah, that's a bit of our inspiration for this week. But it led us to actually start looking at not only our own advice, but how we could use AI to advance the whole critique process. And along the way, there's a lot of beautiful looking AI people, unlike myself and Neil, and some very strange looking people. I suspect we may find out, because we're going to do a couple of things with AI live, and you never know what's going to turn up, do you?
no, this could get extremely messy. So we're going to be playing with that in a second. But first of all, I'll just say hello to a couple of people. So if this works, hello Val, happy Thursday to you too. Hello Saeed, thank you for joining. Saeed's got a question. Is Sam human or AI? He's very much human, isn't he?
He's very much human, but I think we're going to call him Sam AI.
Sam AI.
Samurai. Sort of.
Something like that.
Samurai. Yeah.
Right.
We'll look for a name for him. Yeah.
Definitely.
You can vote.
So as we said today, we're going to be talking and just messing around with AI. Now, it just came about that we were working with Sam, as Martin said, and we thought, what would AI do to a particular layout, a setting, a screenshot of the studio as it stands today? And could we ask it to make improvements by critiquing it, just basing it on the standard photography, videography workflows of lighting, rule of thirds, all that kind of stuff? And what would it do? So we've run it through a couple of things. I'm going to show you one that I've made earlier, just to save a little bit of time with the process, and then I'll run through a couple of difficult ones that I found on the internet to see what AI makes of it. But first, let's just go to this share screen, and you're going to pop up with a gentleman on here. Yikes. So he is from the internet. He is real. I believe so. He wrote a blog post around how to look better on camera and things. So let us critique what's wrong with this image. Too many things to mention, but let's just talk about the lighting placement and so on first of all. And then I'll show you what happened when we popped it through AI. And then we'll do another one of a familiar face that you've seen here a couple of times. And then we'll try one for real and see how long it takes. So what's wrong with this image? Martin, first off, taking a look at this image, what's the first thing that strikes you about this image?
The first thing is the giant light above his head, which is skylight, and the fact that we are slightly looking from below up at him. Every angle is wrong on this picture. That's the first thing I notice. And that light shining on his head where his hair's slightly receding. We've got a nice shiny spot on the top of his head, and it's not going to do him any favours because it's making the whole of his front of his face dark, apart from the bottom quarter, which is presumably coming from a light from somewhere else. I'm guessing he's got another window light to the left or to the right of him, whichever that is.
Yeah.
I'm never quite sure which way round.
It's his left, our right. So that's wrong. And then obviously we've got the rule of thirds, which is like, well, it's just not happening really, because I don't know where the rule of thirds would be here. I mean, we're looking at him from this direction. We're almost looking up his nose, and there is a nice image coming up with that in a second. So yeah, there's a few things there that's not right, and nobody wants to see these overhead lights and what's on your shelf as well. So there's a few things that we could do here from a studio build. So we'll take a look at that. Saeed has just mentioned that the title of today's program was very clickbaity. No, it's not, because we're actually using AI to do this, and you'll see this in a second. But, you know, it worked. You're here, so thank you for joining. Right, let's move on then. Let's just kill this image. Just get over to my screen. I've lost my mouse. Where's my mouse gone? Uh-oh. My mouse is gone.
I've got it. I've got it over
You've got it?
here.
Okay, thanks for... You've popped it over. Thanks a lot. Okay, so we're using ChatGPT. We can use Claude, but ChatGPT has the image profile built in, which seems to be a lot better. I've been messing around today trying to get this workflow to work by building an app. It didn't go terribly well. One of the images that I put in of somebody came out with a completely different style. Let's say it wasn't a different style. It was actually a different
It was a different
person.
gender.
A different gender, actually. Different gender, different skin color. It didn't work. Let's put it that way. But this one is working okay for now. So the prompt, if you can see here, is very simple. It suggests some improvements with this image with regards to lighting and camera placement for live streaming or an online presentation. Provide text supporting the advice. So what we've asked it to do is just say, look, what's wrong with this image from a videography and photography perspective, and give us some pointers. So what it did was this. It came up with, as we've mentioned here, lighting improvements. So yeah, it's a bright skylight behind you, which causes backlighting, because we don't want backlighting. We want to have it on the front of our face. There's nothing wrong with backlighting if you have a nice light to light up both sides of your face adequately. But obviously, if it's just a backlight, and if that's the image you're going for and you want to look in the shadows, then that's fine, but not for an online presentation. So first of all, lighting improvements, a couple of things it said to do, you know, turn off the overhead light, reduce the overpowering light from above, face a window light. So you could have actually turned around and had some light coming down that way if he was moved back, but obviously that doesn't necessarily work as well, depending on what kind of window it is. If it's a louver window that's an angle, maybe that would have worked. Use soft lighting in front of you. Avoid relying solely on overhead lighting and having a bright light source above and behind you. So camera placement tips. Camera's too low, pointing upwards, creating unnatural and unflattering. A lot of portrait photographers, when they're taking portraits of people, instead of having a straight on image, and Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you do photography as well, they'll slightly elevate the camera up and pointing down, and they'll ask you to look up a little bit, which lifts the chin and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of different things that you can do as you're placing yourself in the camera. Some people do have the camera a little bit above, so they're looking up. It all depends on that, but certainly not have the camera below, as we know. That's never a good look for anybody. So tilt the camera slightly downward, not at your chin. Sit slightly back from the camera. Yeah, because he's obviously a little bit too crammed in the frame as well. If you can see back up here, he's way too much in the frame. He's cut off here. You can't really see much of the torso, which is never a good idea. So that was that. So camera placement tips. Bonus tips for framing. Ensure your eyes are 1/3 of the way down from the top. So again, it's talking about the rule of thirds. So every bit of advice that we've been given is coming from GPT here, which is solid advice, of course, because it obviously makes you look a lot better when the framing is changed. Use natural and clean background. The bookshelves are fine, but might benefit from a bit of tidying up. There's nothing worse than getting on a Zoom call with somebody and seeing the horrendous looking background. And we don't exactly want to see what books you're reading as well, unless they're obviously decent books. You know, if it was my mum's house, it would be Mills and Boon's romance novels and things like that. And nobody wants to see those, unless you're into Mills and Boon. Well, let's move on. So it also gives us a little upgrade plan. So AI has done a really good job here of critiquing this image and giving us some pointers on where this person could improve. And if you're struggling with that, yes, you can come and talk to us by all means, but you can also maybe put your image into GPT or other LLMs and give yourself some pointers on how it could be improved. So what I did after that is I said, okay, thanks for the advice, but could we give me an image to support your advice. So what I wanted it to do is take the image that we've given it as a reference and then just create its own image to say, what would it look like, if you can imagine that, when applying all these different points to make things look better. So we put it through there. I didn't want a gear list. Ring lights and webcams, come on. So I asked it to give an image and boom, it gave me this nice image, and that's not too bad at all. I think you'd agree that it's really taken the advice that it suggested and put that into practice by giving you a visual representation of how you potentially could look if you applied all these things. Valerie said that it did a really good job with the critique with such a great idea. Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea. And as I said, we were messing around with this because of Sam and what Martin's going to show you shortly. So let's look at the image previously, just to do a comparison. Let me just bring this up. Close that down. Bring it over here. So there is the before and after. I don't think it's done not a bad job. I mean, you can see clearly that it's changed the rule of thirds. It's given him a nice bit more of a torso, and it's leveled up his image, and it looks a whole lot better. So I think it's done a great job with that. And I'm going to do a live one in a second. I'll just pop over to this other tab here. Where's my tab gone? Let me find it. Hang on a second. I'll go back to you and me for a second while I find this other tab. I don't want to reveal any API keys or anything like that. So what do you think about that, Martin? It's
I've got an arrow in my eye there. It's done a great job. You know, it's a bad day when ChatGPT tells you off because your shelves are messy, isn't it? So,
I think it is. Yep.
But I did notice when you showed the two side-by-side images, it made me see in the first image, more highlights on photographs and things like that in the back that had disappeared in the final image. And again, that's due to the way the lighting's sitting. And it's very, very common for people to have pictures on their wall with glass that's going to reflect in them. Goodness me, don't put a mirror on the wall behind you, whatever you do. When you've got a whole load of camera gear pointing at you, you don't want a mirror behind you and reflecting into the camera. But pictures can be something that are a bit of a killer. One thing you can do, just take the glass out of the picture. That'll help a lot. But
yes,
you know, hints and tips.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So Valerie says that is a lot better. Excuse me. It is a lot better. I thought it was good. And Saeed, yeah, it's a good point. We're going to come on to that in a second around creating a 16:9 image. I didn't want to do that intentionally because we're actually doing something with Martin in a second, but absolutely it will obviously give you a wider image and look a bit better, but we thought we'd just leave that for now. So let's pop over to our old friend, not our old friend, but our friend John, who we've worked with before, and we've already set up John's studio, and you know, he's done a lot of work with that as well. But so not to bring this image up again, but I just wanted to show you some other ideas and suggestions. So it's just a single image for now that we've asked again, suggest some improvements. So as you see, this is maybe a typical way that people do conduct some of their Zoom calls. This image is not too bad at all. With very subtle little tweaks that we did with John, we made the image look a whole lot better. He decided to move it into the corner as well from our advice and got better lighting. I'll show you what that looked like in a moment. But again, we just suggested what was going on. Use a 3-point lighting setup, get a fill light, soft ring light, things like that. Adjust the camera. Again, it knows that you should be within the rule of thirds. Eye camera angle and stuff, center framing, background optimization. So here he's saying declutter and simplify, add some depth. If you're too close to the image, too close to the wall, then you're not going to get any separation from you. Even if you've got a really, really decent camera with a very low aperture, which lets in a lot of light, has a blurry background, the background will be more compressed if you are further away from it. So you can get away with not having a very expensive lens if you sit further away from the wall. So the distance between you, the wall, and the camera is going to help with that compression and make the whole background look a little bit more out of focus and therefore a little bit more pleasing, because you do want that separation. There's nothing worse than a flat image. Consistency is said here. Ensure the decor, painting, globe aligns with the tone of your presentation. I hadn't thought about that. So it depends. It doesn't think that having a globe in your image is very professional. It all depends on what you are. You might be a geography teacher, in which case you do want to have a globe in your thing. So again, it's just taking some basic rules and applying that to this image. Same thing applied here. We thought we would just run it through GPT to give us a nice little image. And this is what it came up with. Oh, it basically said here as well, for optimum video presentation, I've set up a 3-point lighting system to avoid harsh shadows. So that's the example strategy. So I said, let's have a visual mock-up. And this is what it did, which was quite interesting. So it created this image of John, and it actually gave us some pointers as well. So it says here, I've added a fill light, which is cool, and the backlight there as well. And it's even put a little practical light in, moved the plant, got rid of the photographs that were above his head originally. One was coming out of the top of his head, if you remember. So I think it's done a really good job with that. So that's what we did.
It has actually made his head. It's made his head a different shape, though, which
I know,
not sure how achievable.
Yeah, it's something like what it was. It has made his head a different shape. You should see what it did to somebody else.
John, if you're watching, John, there must be a pill for that nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, at least ChatGPT didn't change you into another gender, so you got to be thankful for that. And I know it did with some people that I threw. Real quick, we did the same thing now with this image. So this image is the iterations of John's progress through his studio setup. So obviously this is step 1 that he went through, and I think it follows across, right, Martin? This was step. Was this step 2? This was step 2, I think, right?
Yeah.
This one, and then that was 3, and then finally 4, where he moves everything sort of in the corner, changes the lighting a little bit, and then gives a representation of his studio just from a different angle. So it looked pretty cool. And I think it did a good job. Let's just say a quick hello to Maggie. Hi, Maggie. Thanks for joining. Yes, be careful with ChatGPT. You don't want to basically change your head shape. So what we did with this is we thought we'll run it through GPT again. And this time, let's ask some improvements with this image with regards to lighting, and asked it which is the best one. So I said, pick the best one and why. So blah, 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 blah. And it liked the bottom right. So it actually went for this one, which is the final image in this particular instance. Martin will tell us a little bit about his queries in a second that he did with this. But for this particular one, it chose the one that was the final setup for him. But it did have some comments about that as well. So let's just take a quick look at what it said. What works well? Lighting balance, background lighting, accent. It liked the coloured accent lighting that it had in there. The camera framing as well, because obviously he spent a lot of time making sure that the camera framing was correct in the height. But it said suggestions for improvement even for the best frame. So it doesn't want to offend me, clearly, or John, but it's saying, you can make some subtle changes. So the neon pink blue might draw too much attention. I'm just going to switch to this. Okay. All right, I've got neon pink blue. Let's not go crazy. And so has Martin. Martin's got, lots of nice colours, but it depends what look you're going for. And I think depending on the style, look and feel and what you're trying to present, there's nothing wrong with having the colours. It's your brand at the end of the day. You can have what you want, but obviously it's just making some suggestions. Lens quality and depth of field. So it's sort of detected that John is still using a webcam, but he did actually get camo to help with the overall balance of the image and having some subtle blur in the image that you don't get with a webcam, which I think was a really good point. And general improvements across the frame, 3-point lighting and so on. So it did a reasonable job with that, I think. Martin, did you just want to talk a little bit about, and I can bring the image up, I think, but talk about what it did when you created the query in GPT?
So I did the same sort of thing, and I guess my query might have been slightly different, and it picked image number 3 as the best image. And what it did actually say is, all throughout, there'd been massive improvements as it went through the different images. And I think the reason it was not so keen on image 4, and I don't necessarily agree, but John had brought up some bullet points on the image, and I thought he'd done a great job of using the space available. But what it did was sort of critique the bullet points and say, oh, the bullet points could be a bit clearer. And I actually think they are very clear, actually. And I think it said, number 4, oh, maybe there's too much in the image. I don't think so. So I'm slightly disagreeing. I certainly think the body shape is better on number 4. His head is slightly larger in the centre of the screen. He's too small on image 3. Image 4 definitely is better. The only thing I would say about it, I think that the colour tones on his skin are much better on image 3 than image 4. I think he's either overexposed or he's got his light too bright, and his face is very white on the final image. But what I can say is that I noticed on John's YouTube channel, which is all about kit. If you want to know about kit, as in what used to be content kit, go see John's channel. I noticed, I think, that he's doing all of his videos looking like that now, and they look great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's actually been back through his channel and used it as an excuse to tidy out all of his older videos. So I think he only looks like that now on his channel, and a great job he's done of it as well.
I think so. Well done, definitely. John. Well done, John. Yeah, in fact, well done indeed. Sorry. So a couple of comments come up which I thought was really funny. So Saeed ran his image through GPT as we were speaking. You should be listening to us, you know. I'm just kidding. And it basically said to get rid of his headphones, not on his watch. Quite right too. That's your brand. That is you. If you remove the headphones, it'd be like taking one of your arms away. It's not good. So don't listen to it, Saeed. I know you won't do it anyway. That's really funny. Valerie said that is hilarious. Yes. Be careful what you wish for, right? If you're going to ask an LLM to critique you, you might not like what you hear. So be careful. Right. Speaking of which, let's do a live one, and then I'll hand over to Martin to talk about what he's going to do a little bit with Photoshop. So, yikes. All right, let me pick an image. Let me just find one from here. Now, you don't have to use a paid account, by the way, for this. The ChatGPT image creation is available for anybody with a free account up to X number of images per day. It is getting hammered because every man and his dog are creating images on GPT. I'm using my wife's GPT paid for account, which will probably be running out of credits today, and she'll probably kill me for that. But what can we do? So let's create one of these images. Now, I was going to try this, so I'll let you have the vote, right? So people in the chat have the vote. This is Zoom image number 1. Should we try that? This is Zoom image number 2, or Zoom image number 3. I wish I had Streamer Live up and running for this because it would be much easier. So 1, 2, and 3. Please pick in the chat and I will put one of these through. So just to recap, image 1 is the crazy 2 ladies. I'm not saying they're crazy, just saying 2 ladies. I don't know them personally. Image number 2 or image number 3. Let's leave it to the vote.
Hang on, I'm looking for an image. I'm busy looking for an image of Saeed on the web now, so that I can put that in.
Going to put that through. Going to do it live. All right, people, tell me 1, 2, or 3. I know there's a 15-20 second delay with YouTube, so this is, we should have a be right back screen, have a cup of coffee or something, and wait. But we'll find out what is. Everybody's gone to sleep now. I think they've all disappeared. Oh, they're all playing with their images. 2. Saeed says 2. Valerie says 2. 2 it is. All right, let's go back.
2 it is.
And Jules says number 3. All right, it's the popular vote. So let's go to number 2. Okay, which was of course, this one here. So let's pop this into GPT like that. Boom. Let me grab my query. Yeah, we'll do one if we've got time as well. So Valerie says she might like number 1 as well. So from the law library, boom. Let's do that. So suggest some tone improvements with this image. Let's run it, see what it does. All of the above. So Valerie,
do you think it'll ask him to put headphones on?
Yeah.
You look a lot better with headphones, it'll say.
It was pretty quick. So this image highlights a common Zoom lighting issue. And actually this was from Zoom's blog. So hats off to Zoom for actually showing what can and can't be done. This came from Zoom's blog themselves. This is a gentleman who probably works for Zoom or doesn't anymore because his lighting's so terrible. But either way, it highlights a common issue. It's too dark and so on. So they need some front-facing lighting sources, soft LED light. And I'd be interested to know what kind of lights you use in the chat. So are you panel lights, soft boxes, small lights, large lights? Let me know. I'm interested in what kind of lighting you have. Because you all look good, by the way. Valerie always looks great. Saeed's image always looks good. I know Maggie, when I've seen her in a studio, is always well lit and so on. So let me know what you use. So turn off the overhead lighting. Was there overhead lighting in that? Oh, yeah. And the ceiling fan. Was it you was telling me about the ceiling fan story sometime ago?
It was. I used to go on a call to I worked with an Indian company, and almost inevitably all of the images were pretty terrible. But one guy in particular had got that camera up the nose type of effect, and he had a ceiling light and then a fan underneath it. So the fan would go round in circles, and you would just get a big strobe effect going up and down him continuously. Along with the noise of motorbikes and dogs and things like that.
Not the best.
I can't hear a word you're saying, Prash. I can't hear a word.
Not good.
So.
Back in the days. So, softboxes, Valerie said. And by the way, Saeed has just sent an image to you on Slack, Martin. So if you wanted to get an image, not of you, of himself, and we could always run that through. So I can let you download that if you've got time. Saeed is using Elgato key lights. So that's cool. I've got one Elgato key light here and a softbox over there, which is cool. So let me run this through. Sorry, I'm making Martin work now, but that's all right. That's what we're here for. It's live. We can do what we want. So I'll run through this. So some zoom issues. Yes, balance room, lighting, avoid, relying lamps, blah, 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 blah. Do raise the camera. Usual stuff. So let's see what it does when I ask it to, which is the same prompt I've been using. And it's a very simple prompt. It's going to be, give me an image to support the advice. That's all I say. Obviously, your prompts may vary, but what I wanted to understand is whether it would do anything. Now, I've done this with, and don't use any other chat model. Like I used Chat 4.0 something, which was basically for reasoning. It gave me a cartoon image of something. And then obviously I mentioned before that when I used another one, it actually changed the gender. So we'll wait for that. Oh, it's chugging away very slowly. And we'll come back to that in a second. So while Martin's digging away, I'm just going to go on to this. In fact, I'll just give you a different camera angle. Why not? I put my OBSBot here to give an overhead camera angle of what the studio looks like. And I've also got a this camera here on a slider just to slowly pan. I usually use this camera for when I'm making my YouTube videos. Just give a different camera angle. And you can see sort of what my studio looks like. It's quite small, but I've made sure it's nice and clean and tidy. That's how I run my studio stuff and so on. So anyway, it's done its image. Let's look. Let's go back to this. And I don't think it's done a terrible job. Look at that. It actually looks very similar to the other one, actually. But especially with the picture, did it actually look like this originally? I have to go back to the original Zoom image now. Not really. I think ChatGPT's got a sort of workflow in its head that every image is going to have a picture behind it and a door. But it actually kept the door. So it's kept the door that we see here, which was originally there. It's got rid of the ceiling fan. It's given them a different color. And that's actually neat. You've got to admit that this was a really dark image. And if you can appreciate that it's really tried to look at the image and it's not a bad likeness. Tell me what you think in the chat, whether you think this is a decent likeness or not. I don't think it's done a terrible job with that. I'd be quite happy with that. I probably could use that as an avatar, right? You could just take that, throw it into something. Not bad at all. AI technology, so great. Did you, were you able to get the image of Saeed? It's also moved the door.
I'll be with you shortly.
No problem.
Do the two ladies.
I'll do the two ladies. Let's run. Yeah. Things you never hear me say on a live stream. So let me just pop this image into here. We'll delete that later. Let me find the image of the ladies. Oh dear. It's so much fun today. I'm enjoying this. I like doing this stuff. Right, so let's do this real quick. Let's paste this in. Suggest some improvements. Boom. Now, I don't know what it's going to make of this, because we did one actually before, and it was a screenshot of myself, Martin, in the top right, in small frames like this, and Sam, who was in the middle. And it actually was complimentary and made some critiques to Sam. And then it said, by the way, there's other two old fellas at the top right. They've got some dodgy lighting. They need to change that as well. So I thought that was quite, abrasive. But I didn't ask it to critique us, but we got told about it anyway. It's like I guess it's like the family member, the auntie or the grandmother that's going to give you her opinion whether you want it or not. So that's what it felt like to me at the time. But, let's leave that as well. So Let's have a see. Well, thank you very much, Jules. Very kind of you. I think you're new here. I've not seen you pop up before, so welcome. Stay with us. We do this every Thursday. It's quite fun.
Welcome,
most
Jules.
of the time. Saeed says, did it add an image from the first example to its background? Looks the same. That's funny. It might have just morphed them together. We probably, when we go through this image, Saeed, it's probably going to morph all the people together. Valerie said, it's definitely better than the original. The dude should be very happy with his new look. I think I should just send it to the Zoom blog and say, hey, look what we did for you. Pay me some money. Anyway, let's move on. So now this thing has basically come up with, and what does it say? This image reveals common lighting camera placement issues during a live stream. Below is some targeted comments. I'd be interested to know what it does, because this lady's head is, I mean, the rule of thirds can't apply here because there's a third missing. But let's see what it says. The main speaker's face is overexposed, resulting in washed out ghostly appearance. Harsh lighting from above. Background lighting is poorly balanced. So use diffuse light, avoid high. What else is there with the placement? Camera is too low and angled upwards. Okay. The headroom is unbalanced, excessive space. Yeah, and thumbnail, raise the amateur level. Okay, I think he's got that wrong a little bit, because it's not excessive space. It's excessive space in the image, but her head is sort of cut off, so that's not great. Place the lighting at a 45-degree angle. Issues, camera is too low. Raise the camera. Okay, so let's see what it's going to do. And I like the fact that it gives you a little table. Side-by-side comparison image to demonstrate those improvements visually. Yes, I would. It's learning. I don't have to prompt it. I'll say yes. Now, let's see if Saeed's theory is correct. It probably is, whereby it's going to morph these images. It's going to put John, the other guy with the glasses, the Zoom guy, and somebody else all in a Zoom call together. Probably something ridiculous like that. Whilst I'm waiting for this image, I'll just let people know, especially the people that are new, that we do have a course that's ongoing at the moment. It's called Go Live Now on LinkedIn, and it's really just designed for people who are new to LinkedIn and want to go live but don't know where to start. LinkedIn doesn't offer you an easy way of going live. So this course, which is on Udemy, click on the QR code or the link there, which will take you to it, which will walk you through how to get set up from basically setting up your account on LinkedIn all the way through to camera tips like this, getting live using a third-party encoder, which you'll need for LinkedIn, microphone, camera, lighting placement, some tips for posting, and all kinds of fun stuff. So be sure to check that out if you're new. It's loading the image as we speak. So yeah, we'll just wait for that. Go ahead, Martin.
Well, you also you have Saeed's image in Messenger as well now.
Oh, have you done something with it, or you've sent it to me?
No, I've just sent it to you in Messenger so that
right.
Saeed knows we all use Apple stuff, and that Apple is so behind the time that when you send stuff in Slack, it's just a bit of a pain in the neck to then share it from the phone to the to anywhere else by using Apple's rather new but still old Apple screen sharing device for mirroring your phone on the screen and then sharing it. But I think we should run Saeed's image through.
We will. We'll do it in a second. Well, I'm quite surprised, and that's a really nice image of you, by the way, Saeed. That's a really good image. But you know,
you're surprised.
Sorry. I did not mean for that to come through as surprise. I'm just saying it's a really nice image. It was supposed to be a compliment. Don't get me into trouble, Mr. McKenna.
Yeah, we're trying to keep our viewers.
Not trying to alienate them. All right.
I'm surprised that's a good picture of you.
Right, let's crack on. Let's go for the big reveal of this image. So this is what ChatGPT has decided to come up with. So I'm not 100% sure what it's doing here, but I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, obviously, I don't know what it's trying to do. So is it like saying, well, this was it's before and after. Sorry, I asked it to create a before and after. So this is what it thought the image before was, and now it's made this to be after. And it's obviously got the surprise look of the lady in here. What did the original image look like? I have to go back and have a look now. 1 second. This was Zoom example number 1. So that was the original image. Okay. So it's sort of morphed her original look. So it's actually done an avatar of her original look. If I just move this out of the way a little bit to get some space. So it's done like a little image of her and changed her look in the original picture. It's not done a bad sort of capture of what it would look like. And then it's made it, well, it's changed her hair colour to start off with.
Yeah, it's given her a haircut, it's made her smile a bit, and it's given her some lipstick as well, so a little bit of makeup, I think.
But in all seriousness,
Well,
I mean, if
maybe
you were
that's
to
what
take
it's suggesting.
it's pretty good though. But yeah, I mean, it's suggesting, again, a nice bookshelf, but it didn't look like the original image. So that's something. I'm pleased about that. All right. You take the image, you send it, we're going to use it. Here we go. So let's put that lovely image of Saeed, because Saeed always looks lovely, despite what Martin thinks I said. We're just going to see what it says. By the way, if there's anybody else here live that wants to send that, I'm just kidding. We don't want to do that to everybody. Let's just let it run through. We'll go here. We'll check on the comments if there's anything. Saeed said he took it 2 minutes ago. Excellent. So thank you for that. Oh, wow. It's already come back. Let me see. All right. Let's just go here to here.
It's probably going to say, I did this 2 minutes ago for somebody else.
Yeah. Haven't I really just recently critiqued this image? So this is already power stance here. This is already a strong setup for live streaming and online presentations. Congrats to the creator. Can you see this? Saeed, it's saying congrats to the creator. Well done, sir. The image features a well-lit subject, good camera framing, and an appealing background. But to make it even more professional and polished, here's some refinements, lighting, camera placement, and overall presentation. Well, first off, ChatGPT has never complimented anything that I've put in there recently with these images. So bravo to Saeed. If I had a little confetti thing flowing, I would, but I don't have that. But anyway, let's... we need one of those dangly things next time, Martin, to say like well done or something. Yeah. Anyway, so what's working well? Key lighting, subject's face is evenly lit, no harsh shadows. Subject is well centered, excellent depth of field. Purple and orange ambient lights create an attractive visual contrast. Professional setup with pop filter and color coordination. Boom. Wow. And Saeed said, during the picture, you even smiled, which is against my principles. We'll correct that at some point. Smiling is good. Makes you feel better. Right. Let's take a look at what it suggests. Are you ready? Not too harsh, I hope. Add subtle hair light or rim light from behind. I think the separation is pretty good. But okay. Use a small LED light behind us to the side, possibly with a warm tone. But I mean, look, this is a warm tone. What do you think that is? That is warm. Okay. I think it's a little bit, gone a bit crazy there. What else? Frame the microphone slightly off to the center. Now that's difficult because I'm the same as you, Saeed. I like this microphone here because it gets in the way. You know, I'll be hitting it. I'm trying to draw on an iPad at the same time. I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's fair enough. Remember, this is just advice. Frame the microphone slightly different lower off center. Consider matching wardrobe to branding. Well, I don't know what to say to that. I think that's just downright rude. So the black jacket is clean and professional, considering adding a small brand logo or wearing solid colours to complement the LED background. That is a solid colour, though.
That's
black.
telling
I mean, you can't get more solid
than
that.
He ought to get some merch. That's what he's saying. Get some branded merch.
If we had like his brand here, that would be like, something like that. But you can't get more like... Anyway, it's a good colour contrast, in my opinion. So that's cool. Let's see... Would you like an image example of these small adjustments? Yes, I would. I want to see what it's doing with your logo, your soft lighting, and so on. Let's come back to that. The big reveal. It's so much fun. Valerie
We'll come back to that. Should we come back to that in a bit?
Yeah, let's come back to that a bit. Let's go on to you.
We'll come back to Saeed in a bit.
Yeah.
Let's just have that as the big reveal. I'm just keeping an eye. It seems like a good option for a big reveal at the end, doesn't it?
Go ahead.
Right. Let me just show you a little bit of what I've been doing. So we did a little bit earlier on. Sam joined us earlier in the week, and basically I installed him in a room in Portobello, and as I said, I wheeled a load of lights over there and cables and all sorts of things and left him to get on with trying to sort everything out. And then what we did was let him run through our course and get himself sorted, and he did a really good job of it. And then we thought we we can critique this a little further with AI, which is what we did, and we created an AI Sam and then added some stuff in. So I'm just going to show you what that might look like. So here's a picture of Sam, and this is an early days picture with his webcam rather than the Osbot camera we set him up with. So you'll see an immediate change once that's in place, and it's kind of looking up the way, so it kind of looks a bit like he's got the Star Trek Enterprise transporter above his head, which is actually just the light fitting and then unmatching curtains in the corner of the room and things like that, and the image quality is not that great. But what we did was run it through all of the ChatGPT stuff and get it to produce a SAM version, and this was the SAM AI version. So if you like, that's something to aspire to. But back to the point really that Saeed made earlier on, or should you make it 16 by 9, what I wanted to do with this image is just put a selection tool onto the image. So if I just put a selection tool down the center of the image here and grab the center of the image, and this is Photoshop beta, by the way. I run the beta version because it updates the AI tools very regularly, so that's why I run the beta version. If I do a selection and then do select inverse on that area, what it's going to do is fill in all of the area around Sam. So what I'll do is, in fact, let's move to a bigger version of this, and we'll bring up the generative AI fill, which is appearing on the screen here. And because I'm hopeless at typing, I've already filled in a prompt which basically says, give me a clean office background suitable for live streaming calls, keep it largely clear of clutter, add a plant to one side with a backlight and a couple of lights on shelves to add pops of colour. Now I'm going to generate that and we'll see what it comes up with, because sometimes when you do this it will bring a plant in and it will bring it right to the front of the screen or something like that, or it'll put a giant version of a shelf to one side. But here's what it's created for me as a clutter-free office environment. I don't know how clutter-free that is, frankly, but let's see what else it's got as different examples. That one's not so bad, but it still looks very cluttered, and the plants aren't looking too healthy in the background either. So that's not too bad. But we'd already, because it's like the BBC over here, Blue Peter, one I created earlier. Here's some that I created earlier on. So we started off with Sam in a cluttered room and then moved on to remove some of the clutter. And this is like a screen that's behind Sam, covering up all sorts of sins, but then the screen is backlit. And then we've removed some clutter, which is what I asked ChatGPT to do. And then added in, for instance, a light in the background and a bit of a shelf to give it some depth of field. And back to this one again as well. So these are AI generated images, so the images that you are going for aspirationally. So that's where we're going to try and get Sam to looking a little bit like one of these images, but it's a great way of just in the background dropping in ChatGPT, or in this case generative AI on Photoshop, to kind of see what your image and your office might look like before going out and purchasing a load of big plants and then finding out they look terrible, or going and buying some shelving from IKEA and bringing it back and thinking, oh, that doesn't really work at all. So to be able to just drop a centralized image into Photoshop and then get it to generate some different backgrounds for you, I think could be a real help, and just like an aspiration to where you could possibly get to.
Would it also allow you to completely replace that as well? So for Sam's environment that he's set up in right now, you could ask it to just completely replace that in terms of giving it a completely different look and feel as well.
Yes, to some degree. Now the best way to do that would be to take a headshot and then do a cutout of the headshot.
Right.
If you do that, then you can get it to put anything in the background. What it will do at the moment is, unless you're able to sort of skirt around the edge of the headshot with a lasso effect, in Photoshop it's going to select a square. So you want it to have a cutout version, and then you could drop anything in the background at all.
Right.
So yeah, that works really well, actually, doing it that way round. And it is a question of doing inverse selections on objects and then asking it to blend with the background, blend and fade with the background. I tend to find are the best things to do, and ask it specifically for a slight bokeh blur on the camera and things like that. So if you ask for these things, it will give it to you. If you don't, then it won't. It will put a Chinese lady on one side and an Indian lady on another side, and with no particular logic, because you haven't actually asked it for anything in particular. And I did get exactly that. I got Sam sitting there with a Chinese lady and an Indian lady either side of her. I don't know why it decided to put those in, but if you don't give it instructions, it will go its own way. But
yeah, interesting.
But I feel it's a really, really useful sequence of events in terms of taking AI, looking at things, or we look at people's setups and suggest things. AI then it's just used to tweak it a little bit further, I think, because there are some things that it's never going to get quite right.
No.
But it's certainly a helpful tool. Do we do a drum roll before sharing the updated Saeed photo?
Well, we have a question a comment from Val first that you might be able to help her with a little bit. So she asks about the whole use Photoshop beta as well. Sometimes it's given us some craziness results imaginable. It takes quite a few tries. So is there any pointers that you have with your prompting? I know incremental changes is always good, but is there any prompting suggestions that you may have for this?
I would tend to make it quite detailed prompts, tell it as much as possible, and then re-prompt as well. So quite often I'll have 5 or 6 versions of the same thing. So the first one will come up, and then I'll just take a section of it and say, remove the plant and replace with a shelving unit, or make smoother, or something like that, or make lighter or make darker for certain parts of the image, and just select the certain parts of the image. So I find that works quite well. But turning on and off the layers is the other thing that you can do. So because it generates things one bit at a time on your right hand side, bottom right hand side in Photoshop, you can switch off the layers. So if you don't like things that it's done, you can switch them off, or you can just do edit, undo selection, undo generative fill, which I do frequently, many times a day, because I don't like what it's done. And it doesn't take too long to regenerate them, but it really is a very good tool for a lot of these things, and I frequently use it to, for instance, if somebody sends me a headshot and they're sitting down here and I want more of them in the headshot, then I will throw it into ChatGPT and put the headshot towards the top of the blank space, and then just ask it to generate the space underneath effectively, and it will fill in the rest of the t-shirt or shirt or whatever it is for you, and suddenly you'll end up with an image which is a usable size and shape for you. So it can be really useful for those kind of things. Just watch out, try not to get too many hands in there, because it adds extra fingers and things like that sometimes. So you really need to watch out for, in particular, hands, I think, on ChatGPT. It's getting better, but it still tends to make a bit of a hash of that.
Yeah, it's a bit weird with the fingers, right? They're like, it's too many or not enough. I don't understand that, but it's a bit odd. I don't have any drum fill, but I do have some applause. So I guess we'll just go straight to the big reveal. So this is what ChatGPT has made of Saeed's image. Are you ready? Here we go. What do we all think about that?
He needs to visit a Turkish barber. Is that what they're saying?
I don't know. So this is, I'm going to bring up the original image here. Saeed, you obviously, this is you. So you tell me if it does something like this to you. So this is you, and this is the. It's not terrible. What I'm interested in is what it thought the logo was. So basically, it's added the Nike logo down here. I mean,
Tiny
why?
bit one.
But and then it's kept everything else the same. I don't really see a big difference. Do you? I mean,
I see very, very little difference. It's slightly oranger in the glow.
slightly warmer.
That's
all.
That's about it. And the microphone has moved slightly to one side.
Hardly anything now.
I'm going to give it like 98% exactly the same, pretty much. Other than it does seem to have waxed his beard a bit.
But I mean, but it's testament, I think, to Saeed's setup, because it's not really been able to, or it's considered that these changes are so small you wouldn't even do that. So, and what did he say? So Saeed says, I forgot to completely close the window to my left. Oh, is that why you got some actual natural light coming through? Oh, I see. Well, I don't think that's bad. What
I can see. Yeah.
What made me wonder is the fact that I think it's changed Saeed into Danny Dyer, because I think he looks like the English actor Danny Dyer a little bit. So I mean, you be the judge of that, but I think that image there is a little bit like Danny Dyer. Just a bit. It's the first image that came to me, but there you go.
He'll be after you.
He'll be after you, mate. Exactly. Anyway, I don't think it's a terrible image. And Saeed has beaten AI. He has. There you go. See, we're not ready for the Terminator just yet. Skynet, you're all right for at least a couple of weeks, at least. Anyway.
Right. No, we should have stuck it into Claude and let it done its thing with the alternative version of image generation.
I can always do that in the background while we're still chatting. But yeah, because Claude is a bit weird. Claude likes to make things look a bit more. What's the word? It's like animation more than anything. I know you can change whatever style you want, like Ghibli or animation or block drawing or whatever, line drawing and things like that on ChatGPT. But it's quite fun. It's quite fun.
Is it Da Vinci? It uses DALL-E or Da Vinci?
I think it uses DALL-E. I think from memory. It's Leonardo. What's Leonardo? That's another one, isn't it? But I never know. There's so many of them. But there you go. Valerie says Saeed always looks great. ChatGPT said there's nothing to do here. Exactly. See, that's great. But obviously it's been very good at making many changes for the rest of these images. I don't think I've got Claude up, so I probably can't do it right now. But anyway, that was pretty fun. Oh yeah, I have. Let's just do it for kids. So Martin, anything else that we've learned from this? Anything that you would suggest that people do as a first pass? Just based, I know this was all sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I do think there's some good workflows here that if you want to just, before you change anything, put it through ChatGPT. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is it can't help. And providing that you are willing to accept a little bit of criticism, slightly tongue-in-cheek, you don't have to take all of it on board. It might give you an idea or two. So by all means, take your image, do exactly what we've just done, and ask it how you could improve things. And I think if if we sent Lux through, it would tell him to tidy up his shelves in the background, wouldn't it, Neil? So,
yes, I did try and find an image of Lux, but because since we cleaned up the whole thing with Lux, I couldn't find a decent image, so or a bad image, should I say? But I had to go back. Maggie says Saeed is much prettier than Danny Dyer, and obviously that's a compliment because Danny Dyer does not look good in that image. Let's put it that way. So Claude has whipped through at ridiculous speeds to give us a little bit of a critique. It's still chugging away. Let's have a see what Claude does. I'll just let it chug away for a second. We've got another comment. Valerie says...
You've also been doing Claude versus ChatGPT this week, haven't you?
Yes, there was this tip that somebody was saying to pit ChatGPT and Claude together. So the workflow is you basically run a prompt in ChatGPT first, ask it to do a certain task, copy the output, and then paste that into Claude and say, hey, I thought you were better than this, Claude. ChatGPT's just given me a great response. I thought you were the best. Can you do any better? And it seems to basically try to outdo each other. So you've got the two LLMs trying to outdo each other on tasks. So that helps us because it gets a better, more quality response. Try it out for yourself. Pitching one against the other.
It's interesting, that one, though.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm just after reading a book about Johnny Ive, who's one of the designers from Apple, designed a lot of Apple products. And Steve Jobs always used to set up two teams against one another and give them a design brief that was the same. So they would come back, and then whenever they gave him their first design brief, he would send them away and say, you can do better than that. Regardless of how good it was, he would always send them away to get them to do it again. So that's ChatGPT and Claude behaving like they were working in Steve Jobs' design teams, I think. And eventually they'll realise, actually, I'm not going to give Neil the final answer straight away. I'm going to give him 3 or 4 in-between steps, so he thinks that I don't know where he's going to go eventually, but I already know.
It sounds a bit like that. Valerie says that ChatGPT images of her always makes her look like an aunt or a distant cousin from somebody else's family. That's never good. That's never good. I've thrown my image through ChatGPT a few times, and goodness me, I don't know who I look like, but nobody in my family. But yeah, doesn't look good. Claude is building some. I'll show you what it's doing. It's building some sort of architectural outline. I just said, give me an image. It's now, I think it's creating
it's now conquering the world.
There you go. Look, it's basically doing. Yeah, great. That's not what that's for.
That's how he's got to move house. And,
yeah, I mean, what the heck? Okay, and I'm just asking it to give me a real image. Who knows whether this will happen or not before the show closes? We've only got a few minutes. I can't believe it's nearly the top of the hour. But I did want to talk to Martin about one quick thing, only because I watched it a few days ago. You told me to, or we mentioned before on another chat around watching the BlackBerry sort of docudrama thing that was on Netflix. I watched it the other night. Fabulous show. I mean, it's a real life depiction of what went on in BlackBerry right up until the iPhone was launched in 2007, and it was absolutely amazing. It was such a great. I couldn't believe the arrogance of them, right? As you said, they just went on and on. It was great. I didn't realize that was happened to BlackBerry though.
It was amazing, and the bottom line is they kept on saying, "Who wants a phone without a keyboard? It's got to have a keyboard on it. We must have a keyboard on it." And they just kept on and kept on and kept on, and kept on releasing more and more with keyboards and different shapes and sizes. And this iPhone, it'll never go anywhere. No keyboard. Rubbish that.
Yeah, I remember people I worked with when the iPhone came out. The first thing they said was they looked at the specs and they said, "This iPhone is rubbish. It hasn't got a replaceable battery, and there's no apps for it. You can't do anything with it." But there you go. People don't like change, right? That's what happens. And I think that's a lot of people saying the same thing about AI. They're like, don't want to adopt it because one, either it's a fear or they don't feel it's going to go anywhere. But I think you've got to be embracing the technology because it is going to help you in certain workflows. You may never, ever have to use it in what you do in a day-to-day. But just for what we've shown today in basic things, I don't think in a few years' time, people will not be able to live without it, just like the internet. I mean, it is one of the biggest technological revolutions in our lifetime. So let's see what happens. Before we go, let's have a quick look. No, I don't think I am going to destroy the world, not yet. That's not the plan. Said says, we have deep fake proof faces. That's a good thing. Oh, I see. So we can't be deep faked. Oh, that's a good thing, I think. And Valerie says she's starting to believe that, and it is good in certain circumstances. Yeah, we don't want to put our cloned images on here and make videos out of it.
But actually, the more you think about it, actually, anybody who puts up all their videos up to YouTube is putting up loads of good data for deep faking.
That's right.
So if it's got lots of pictures of you on YouTube turning your head and moving from side to side with different expressions, it will be able to do really good deep fakes of you. So we're exposing ourselves here. So if anybody comes on here and says anything nasty about Saeed, it's a deep fake Saeed.
That's right.
Not me, and it's not Neil. We wouldn't mention OBS and say any bad words about it or anything like that. Nothing. Oh, that's me.
And on that bombshell,
deep fake.
It's 6 o'clock. Look at that. We're bang on time. We've gone into the hour. We didn't think we would get through this tonight, but there you go. We did, clearly. So, and what, Said says, stop YouTubing. YouTubing. We have to stop that. Absolutely. So next week, I can't even remember if we've got a guest. We may have a guest, we may not. But if we've not, it's going to be us two, same time, same place, 5 o'clock UK.
And Sam.
New
Maybe
time.
Sam. We might bring on Sam if
Oh,
we
yeah,
get
that's
his
right.
internet sorted out.
Yeah, we've got a few sort of internet connectivity problems, and obviously you can't do live shows and interviews if your internet isn't great. So we may have Sam next week going through some of the iterations that he's done in his new office, which should be cool. Let the world see what he's been up to, which was fun. Jeremy is here. I didn't even know you were there. You were lurking in the background, Jeremy. We never talk about Saeed. I think he's mentioning those 3 letters. So let's not mention that. But thanks for joining us, Jeremy, right at the end of the show. But thanks for being here anyway in spirit and supporting. You have to catch us on the replay. It's been a fun show today.
Actually, we were talking about Jeremy today, weren't we? Because we were talking about OBSBot cameras and controlling them remotely.
Yes.
And young Sam was shooting off to write some Python code to basically control the cameras remotely. But we managed to tell him there was some Stream Deck buttons he could press instead. So
yes, but Jeremy did come up
because next week.
Because Jeremy does that for his church, I think, and he does remote producing for that using the PTZ cameras, which is great. So yeah, don't write the code if it's already there. But yeah, very keen, which is fun. So next week we'll be here, same time, same place, with potentially Sam, and the week after, I'm probably going to be in Edinburgh somewhere with you in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to go up to sunny Edinburgh, cross the pond, meet Martin, a few other people, have a bit of a Edinburgh loving. I'm hoping the weather's good. I'm only packing shorts and a sort of a handkerchief for my head, so that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe not. It's going to rain. I know it is. But who knows? It's May and it should be good. So we're going to meet a few people there. We may or may not do a live show from there. Who knows? We'll have to see what goes on, but stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. It's been fun. If you want your AI images, if you want your images critiqued with AI, then go ahead, put them through GPT, because it was quite fun today and could help. And especially if you adopt those workflows that Martin showed you with Photoshop, because then you can at least plan out your studio build and how it looks before you buy those essential items, which is fun. Anyway, I will, what did Jeremy say just before he goes? He says companion will, companion with VISCA compliant cameras, skip the coding. Yeah, so that's what all OBSBot cameras are compatible. I think we've been testing that, and that's what Jeremy uses. So the companion app is free, I think. You can use it. That's the BitFocus companion app. So that's complimentary. It's like Stream Deck on steroids, I think. I've never played with it. But Jeremy has got some videos on his channel, actually, all about how to set it up. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we know where to point Sam now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll point him to Jeremy's channel. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. It's just after 6.
Thank you,
we'll
people.
See you soon. Take it easy. Bye.